Good morning, Matt.
Oh, good morning, Will.
Good morning to all of you.
Welcome to Games for Breakfast, the only internet talk show we talk about this week's gaming and tech news, but that also has one singular cap. Everyone's saying like no cap. There's no way we can pull that off. I want to be very clear. So we only have the one that I am currently wearing.
So it's kind of like a reverse Clark Kent. You know how Clark Kent puts on the glasses and then no one's like, wow, you look suspiciously like Superman, the well-known hero that saves everyone repeatedly that everyone knows. Except if Matt takes off the hat, no one will recognize him.
That's right.
That's actually how he goes incognito places. Is when Matt doesn't want to be recognized, he just takes the hat off, and then it's like a like some kind of veil, like just materializes around him, and he becomes invisible. I myself am only able to perceive Matt without the hat after years of careful study and practice. So one cap.
Yeah, one singular cap. Yeah. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. We have a rather stacked show this fine morn for all of you.
Yes, indeed. For we have many wonderful pieces of news to tell you about.
And caffeine that I can now have.
I'm like halfway done with this can.
Well, how nice for you.
Listen, just because you decided to make your caffeine consumption a bit and I decided to distinctly opt out of that.
I respect avoiding the hype train on Twitch. Because you have to scare it away and you have to make it not feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And what's more uncomfortable than no caffeine? I ask you.
Yeah. Yeah, see, you're not the only one. Silksong did that in college. They wore a baseball hat their entire freshman year and then had to reintroduce yourself to a few people sophomore year after you stopped wearing hats. Exactly. Okay. That guy Jimmy asked, was there a giant game convention or something? Yes, there was.
There sure was.
This past weekend. In fact, we are in betwixt a tale of two cons. Not the story of the greatest heist ever, though Twitch chat would very much enjoy that. No, we are in the odd interlude that exists between Gamescom and PAX West. Because it's
called Monday.
Right. Yeah. It's literally Monday. I think it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. PAX starts Thursday. Yeah. Like it's and people who are exhibiting at PAX may have gone directly from Gamescom to PAX. Yeah. Like this is a wild 2 weeks. So, we've got some stuff we should attend to, and then we'll roll into stories. So first off, we wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of you. Our Kickstarter wrapped up Friday. We got to do a nice early countdown stream during which there were no technical problems with Kickstarter whatsoever that were causing me and Matt no end of frustration and anxiety. Not a single one, right, Matt?
In no way did Kickstarter's back end mess up so hard that no matter how many people pledged and kickstarted and gave generosity and got calendars, that the number on the front page did not change for roughly the entirety of our closing of Kickstarter stream. That totally didn't happen.
Definitely not. And then we definitely didn't wake poor Kat up with messages about how it was broken.
And Kat tried to give us a complete number on the back end when we ended doing all of the darkest of maths. But that was a very impressive number as well. However, the final number was even larger than that. Apparently, you all like historical calendars.
That's right. After 1,659 backers, we raised $78,976 towards our calendar. In addition, that does mean that since we crossed $70,000, the backers of that Kickstarter will be voting on a puzzle. One piece of art will be made into a physical puzzle, which I will be getting and doing here on stream. I have a top-down cam. I can do that. But when it comes in, I'll be doing it. But that will also be part of the secret Kickstarter store for backers first when we get all of the details ironed out, because we've never made a puzzle before.
I have my meeting with Jeff and Kat today. We're going to go over it all. From what we know about manufacturers, we'll probably make some final calls and get that thing moving.
Yep. All right. Important scheduling note. There is no design club this Thursday, and there is no Games for Breakfast next Monday. That's due correct. Once again to PAX West. Jeff and Matt will both be at PAX West. There will, however, be a design club next week. It will be episode 2 of Let's Play Pokemon Shining Pearl Like a Designer.
Did you guys get ahead? Oh, you're talking about the following week. I thought you recorded one and you were holding it. No. Okay.
No. We have no time to do that. But speaking of PAX West,
that's right. So we'll be doing a panel on, and I've already preloaded it, and now I have to pack up my PlayStation 5 and bring it to Seattle. We will be doing a design club on the first hour of Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, which I believe will be playable for the early access folks, I think today. What is today? No, tomorrow, the 26th. So we're going to be breaking down with a panel of designers with Jeff, myself, a few other friends of the channel. I believe Jasmine will be there. And basically go over the first hour of the remake and see what we believe the designer's intent is. Whether or not we play the intro with the song is still to be determined, considering it takes about 5 minutes and the panel's only an hour. So that will be on August 31st on the Sunday at 6:30 in the Blue Dragon Theater. However, friend of the channel, Jenna Stober, asked me to be on one of her panels, which is at 4 p.m. the same day on Sunday in the Firebird Theater, entitled Tears of the Kingdom, but spelt like a tier list, where we will be going over and ranking various items, elements, locations, people, characters, etc. from Tears of the Kingdom and putting them into a definitive tier list. I'm very excited about this. It's funny that, I was saying before I can't do something because I have homework. The homework is getting back into Tears of the Kingdom because I used to play it a lot and now I need to like refresh myself. So those will be the 2 panels, but we'll be around the entire week. Please say hi if you do see me. I will be wearing the hat. I love going back to Prime in Seattle. Feels like going home. Like it's a real good vibe. So please say hello.
Yep. We did have a quick Kickstarter-based question. How many pieces will the puzzle be? Do we know yet?
No idea.
Yeah, no clue.
Pieces will be probably like that big. So, and then the puzzle will be like that big? No, we're working on it. The first, full disclosure, the first, not even like a test of our puzzle, but having the manufacturer send us examples of puzzles. The first one we got, the pieces were like this big, and we're like, no, what? So we're figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and for anyone who's yes. Anyway, you there's a bunch of math that actually goes into this. There's a Matt Parker video on the math of making puzzles. Fun fact.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Cool.
I was gonna say, I like this comment. The least political game.
Yeah, that's right.
Made.
Yeah, it's just got child soldiers and PMCs and nuclear warfare and global overreach by United States senators and arms dealing and child kidnapping and transhumanism, cybernetics and brains in jars and snake. Therefore, the least political.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, okay. Let's roll into our stories. First up, surprising literally no one who has been paying attention. 0 humans who have been paying attention. We're surprised. Kpop Demon Hunters did hit #1 at the box office for the sing-along.
It's kind of insane, though, because it had obviously a limited release of theaters. Netflix is really chintzy with its, with its theatrical releases. This is the first time a Netflix film has actually gotten the #1 spot at the box office. Granted, it's a bit of a middle point in the release cycle or actually, it's kind of, I guess, at the end of the summer release cycle. So going into spooky season. But it's really lovely to see that this actually happened. Now, Netflix isn't going to obviously change its methodology. This is a very specific case. Basically, it was almost sold out across 1,700 theaters, and the ask for something like this is obviously different, right? Like, they released it on streaming, everyone loved it, it got super hyped up. There were articles, podcasts, as you can see the graphic that dropped last week for mine, for the only podcast about movies. I put my little self on the ramen things there with my co-host Shahir. But like the cool thing I think about this is it proves the sort of, if your property can support it, essentially a second life for your thing. The reason why this is popular in this way is not only because it's great, but because it already has the fan base, and now you're asking people to go interact with the film in a very narratively correct way that the film actually asks the in-film fans to interact with that property.
Right.
Like, it all ties together so incredibly well.
Right, and the problem is that there will be attempts to do this that recognize none of the nuance. We will get a series of K-pop Demon Hunter likes, and all of them, many of them will fail because they've learned all of the wrong lessons. We've seen this time and time again in video games. We will see it here in new ways to do film. They will miss like the whole like multi-layered narrative harmony thing in favor of trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah. Also, I was a little just on the back end of like movie house business and drama. So this limited release was through Cinemark, Regal, and Alamo Drafthouse mainly. AMC, on the other hand, as expected, stuck to its policy and did not do any bookings for anything that was available on a streaming platform. That is a long-standing AMC thing. I get it and I don't get it. I think this would be... It's funny how there's always like in things like this, like the slippery slope argument, but like if you own your company, you can just choose to do something and choose not to do something. You don't really like, you can be like, I want to do this because this is a different experience that people can't get at home with the same piece of media. Like there's a pretty easy thing there. So I was a little disappointed that AMC didn't do that, but I know they are still trying to make movie theaters profitable. And that is not going great. So this is interesting. It's funny because it's a victory for a film in the cinema that also can partially represent how the slingshot that a media property needs to be a phenom, especially a new one, something like this, to get it to the point where it can sell at a limited release. Like, it kind of needs the the streaming slingshot first. Again, like the pedigree who made this movie by the folks, the Sony animation, like the people behind Spider-Verse and stuff, it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But this is a brand new property that they just were very smart with because they chose a topic that people are passionate about. They made characters that people really love. They they did the work. But you constantly see some other things that also do the work and that just don't hit in the same way. So, I don't know. I was very happy to see this happen, and I hope people learn better lessons from it, and we don't just see the myriad of copycats that Will is saying that we will, even though I believe that we will.
Yeah. Yep. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Or it won't. You know what I'm not looking forward to, Matt? The sequel.
I think it could be good. Like, okay, so I'm gonna butcher this, but like one of the largest movie property on the planet right now is I'm gonna say the Americanized version of the name, not we had a guest in the podcast to tell us how to say it correctly in Chinese, but like I can't do it. So it is Nija. Have you heard of Nija? Anybody?
I have heard of it. I have not experienced it.
So the first one is pretty great. The second one is a legit phenom. I actually saw that in theaters, and I had the worry that I think you have with K-pop Demon Hunters of like, oh, breakaway success story, first time out. Wow, what if they do it again? That's gonna not be great. Nisha 2 is legit one of the most gorgeous films I've ever seen. And I think at this point has made the most money a film has in its current like release window.
Sure. I think so. On one hand, I'm worried about this one specifically narratively, and on the other, my other long-standing sort of feeling is some stories should just end. Right? There are stories that need to end with, and then they lived happily ever after.
But I want like it feels like Rumi's story, like the bit about her coming to terms with who she actually is. That story has ended. I feel like other characters in this movie have a bunch of stuff that still could be explored, and that's what I kind of hope they do.
If we get a Bobby focus for the sequel, top tier, right? Just like top tier. Like, who is Bobby and why is he? Okay, anyway, not the point. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fair. All right, let's move on to our next story, which is EVO is under new management. Sony has sold its controlling-ish stake in EVO to Nodwin Gaming. Nodwin is a games and events company that's based in India. It's been around since 2015. Has facilitated events such as DreamHack India, Comic-Con India, Valorant Challengers South Asia, and various PUBG mobile championships in the region. This comes to us from
So
IGN.
is this them breaking out to doing like things outside of outside of that region? Is that kind of the...
That would make sense. Or that they are going to use their controlling stake to either run a second EVO in that region, or that they're going to move EVO there. Because, again, it has not been so long since the world learned the name of Arslan Ash, right? There are players around the world who play fighting video games in different ways in different communities, and it is unfortunate that many of those communities have been shortchanged due to travel restrictions or problems or whatever, like getting competitors to EVO. So I actually think it makes a lot of sense to have EVO in a different place, or have another EVO in a different place that doesn't have as many problems getting people there for various and sundry the world is on fire reasons.
Damon asked a good question. What is EVO? That is the Evolution Championship Series. It's a fighting game tournament. That's is it the largest? I feel like at this point,
for fighting games, for fighting games, it is certainly the largest esports event. I think
no, because fighting games are a relatively small,
which is
fish in the big esports pond.
Which is why they stack all of the fighting games together and then just billet weld them. Also, if they only did some of the fighting games, then Sonic Fox would have to fly all over the country so they could compete in all of them. So they're being very nice to Sonic Fox and just putting all of them in one place so Sonic Fox can show up and win stuff.
I was so curious when Sony bought it, because then they did really give it a PlayStation focus. Like, they really did push PlayStation games and things during it, even to the point there was like some Astrobot tie-in or something.
Yeah.
But they, esports for companies like Sony are just not profitable enough. So like when they do these things, I think they think they're going to get an avenue into something, but like, I know fighting games are popular, but they're still not like, and we kind of had a bit of a fighting games renaissance with Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 11-1, Tekken 8, like, and now we're getting obviously League's fighting 2XKO, and then like a couple other games are coming through. Like there's lots of winners in the space, but like it's, as far as like an esports type thing, it can't even scratch the surface of like League, right? Like it can't like, and that's the kind of level I think you need if you're a giant company like Sony to really get a return on your investment. And it also seems like when companies come in and buy these tournaments for esports that are not League, right? That are like small to mid tier, they think that like it's just going to exponentially grow on its own and then become that. And that's never happened, even down to the biggest swing, and I guess not quite miss because it's not over, but the Overwatch League.
Yeah, I think also, like, I don't even think, I would have to check more specific on the numbers. I don't think EVO's as big as the international or the world championships for Counter-Strike. But that is also because Valve tends to, those events are not to bring new players in. Those events are for people who play those games, because Valve doesn't need to advertise because they're Valve. So those go a little less noticed. They generally don't bring containment on those communities. So I do agree though that it's not something you make a ton of money off of. The RGN article also did observe one important thing which may change, which is that when Sony got their controlling stake in EVO, Nintendo said you can't play Smash at EVO anymore.
Did that line up, or was that not like,
It may not have been causal, but the timelines roughly align closely enough that it could have been, but Nintendo did not, I believe, give a direct reason, is my understanding. But I could be wrong on that, and chat can correct me. Either way, it is certainly possible that Sony's departure may cause Nintendo to reevaluate. Though I honestly doubt it. Nintendo doesn't like being part of esports. I think the closest they're okay with being esports is like Splatoon and Pokemon, but Pokemon is also like the Pokemon company doing Pokemon company things, so like that's its own whole shtick. Yeah.
It's funny. I feel like there's an episode in this somewhere where like talking about fighting games in general and why even when they break containment, they don't break containment.
Yeah.
Like there has to be something about the size of a player base that's willing to do, which is strange because, you know, boxing and wrestling are like big things, which is not exactly the same. But I would argue that even like the WWE is more narrative focused, and the spectacle is what sort of keeps you sticking around. The narrative is what brings you in and like hooks you, right?
Yeah.
And fighting games, even though there are wonderful story modes in many of these games, don't really do that. Even though the people like myself that are deep into something like Mortal Kombat like know way too much of the lore and probably should have dumped some of that info in their brain so they did better in other classes in school, but didn't. So like, I guess, I don't know. There's something interesting about, and it could just be about like size of player base and who you can get into that, especially in a 1v1 style game.
Well, and fighting games, and we've talked about this a bit in other places, have a bit of a problem, which is that their barrier to entry is pretty high, relatively speaking. The skill floor to seriously understand and compete in fighting games is relatively high compared to something like a first-person shooter.
Sure.
Because the combo, it's a different kind of knowledge, right? Where skills in general might not translate as well into a specific fighting game, right? And the level of the competitive player base is very high, and because fighting games are so thinky, that translates into people with decades of experience who will just wipe the floor with you in Tekken.
Yeah, but like I wonder then if the solution, because like that's any institution at this point, whether it's 30 years old or 3, is going to have people at the higher levels that will wipe the floor with you. Like maybe something like League or things that are more team based, like 5v5 or something like that. Maybe those are more forgiving because there's just more variables to it. Like you could. Just because you're versus someone who's been playing a game for 15 years or whatever doesn't mean that you also might not be teamed up with someone that's been playing the game that long. Whereas in a fighting game, it truly is just you.
Yeah.
And not everyone likes the idea of just the mechanical monotony of what a fighting game offers. I personally love it. I'm very much looking forward to a Marvel Token as well, which was heavily showcased at a various game show we'll talk about later today. But yeah, it's interesting because I feel like broad statement here. I would posit that fighting games have the most break containment characters.
Yes.
Pound for pound than almost any other genre. Now, League, of course, you have Arcane, you have other things, etc. But like,
as a genre,
if you say to anyone who's been alive since probably the 80s or maybe even the 70s because it hit them at the right time, if you say Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they know what they look like. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like, and again, that's not value in and of itself. We see movies, movie franchises and other things trying to capitalize on that. But like, that does say to me that there is something interesting with fighting game worlds, like even Ken and Ryu, Chun-Li. I feel like these are all characters that broke containment.
Yep. No, I don't know. I feel like that's fair.
Interesting topic.
Yeah. Next up, Steam has announced that they are shaking up the way that reviews are displayed and calculated. So, I've got a Kotaku article in front of me. I'm going to try and make sure I get this correct the first time. The percentage score that you see when you pull up a thing, right? You pull up Hollow Knight and it's like 96% positive, overwhelmingly positive after X number of reviews.
Sure.
All of that data will now exclude for you as a viewer reviews which have been written in other languages.
Real quick, before we go too deep. So yes, this is a feature that you can turn on and off.
Yes, this is the default, I believe, will be that the feature is on.
You can turn it off.
Yes. That is very similar to the way that they've changed reviews in the past, where they have said that you can choose, they will algorithmically detect periods of extreme volatility in reviews, such as when a developer makes a political statement that a portion of the user base or does not like, particularly with free-to-play games, where the bar to leave a review that says you've played the game is very low. And you can choose to exclude or not exclude those from the aggregate review score that is displayed to you. And it will tell you when it has excluded data, so you can go and look at the full data if you would like. That's very similar. My thought, however, is that because the default is on and we are, broadly speaking, not the average consumers of games on Steam.
What?
Yeah, we're just not. I professionally browse Steam on occasion. I have offered devs feedback on like what makes their Steam page good or not, and like have looked at way too many games on Steam and have had to do wishlist purge streams, and like we're not the average consumers. So I believe that for many people, while it is true that this feature could be disabled, they will leave it on because they do not know that it is impacting their experience. Yeah. That would be my guess.
Yeah. Also, I believe this is a no, but asking as a bilingual person, can you turn on multiple languages? Probably not. I think it's based on your base language that you select for Steam, which means you'd probably want to leave the whole thing on. But it's interesting. Like at first, I was like, "Ugh, I don't like this." But then the more I thought about it, there is an interesting element to getting this as an additional data point, because now if I'm making a purchase, I can sort of see like, in my localization of this game or the language that that I want to play the game in, let's just say, it's the assumption, this is the review score. Whereas perhaps, I think something happened. What was the game that just came out? The Soulsborne, Souls-like, God, what the heck was it called? Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers?
Oh yeah, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, yes.
Where apparently it got review bombed really hard because some Chinese fans took issue with some of the historical references in the game. And here's the interesting part of that. I think breaking it up by language is an interesting temporary fix, so long as, again, you can turn it on and off and see the difference, right? Because I would kind of want to see that. I'd want to know, like, oh, people who game is based off of are having problems with it, then I could look into it based on whatever. But like from a mechanical or like just like the localized version that is in my spoken region, if I just want that, I can also just have that. Like it's not going to, hopefully, if they telegram enough that you can turn it on and off, not really hurt a game. All this could do is sort of help in a way. Unless I'm missing something. It's entirely possible I'm missing some different take of this, because when I first found out about this, like, I don't like it. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, actually, I mean, it can be helpful to get different vectors of different types of people reviewing the same game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think more granularity of data that is available to purchasers is good, right? You can use this to get more information about the purchase that you are going to make and be an informed consumer, as long as everyone knows what data is being shown to you, right? Because lying with people with statistics is one of the easiest things to do. There are so many ways that you get lied to daily by statistics, right? In so many...
Well, that's because 56% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Correct, exactly. I just want my biggest concern is not the idea of doing this, because I think it makes sense, because we've seen a lot of things, especially because the two biggest languages on Steam right now are simplified Chinese and English.
Yeah.
And oftentimes those two communities have extremely different opinions of games for a variety of reasons, right?
But there'd be something interesting too, right? Okay, so let's say a game comes out. Let's flip the script a little bit. Let's say an Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter game comes out, right? And it portrays Lincoln in American history in a far less than good context. And Americans get really mad about it, right? And so they review bomb it on Steam. The people in China aren't as connected with the history. And let's say the game is like good and plays well, right? Like it's a solid game.
Right.
So you'll kind of see the differential. But now let's say the game is trash. Like it's actually bad. If you see both versions of who is saying what, etc., and they're both saying it's bad, you kind of know it's like an intrinsic level, not a not like not a single issue that could be based on cultural preference. Does that sort of make sense? Again, I feel like I'm missing something, but at the end of the day, I'm happy that there are more tools. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like,
I'm sorry, I'm going through. So yes. Okay. So people were asking. I have in front of me now the reviews for Night Rain. So first off, we should also clarify. This is live for some, but not all games. It must have at least 2,000 reviews, publicly viewable Steam reviews for a game, and 200 reviews for different languages. Right? So you have to have at least 200 reviews in 2 different languages for it to enable this feature.
Sure.
So Night Rain is a good test case because it's got reviews all over the place. I can break it down as far as, so when I go to language, I can see that it is all languages or my languages, and I can customize which language my language is. Customize. No, I can choose a primary and secondary language. I can choose additional game content languages as well, and that is a long list. Okay, anyway.
that's way better than I thought.
Correct. And I can, at a glance, see that of the 136,726 reviews, 59,551 are in English, and that based on those scores alone, it is ranked very positively. And I can also see that in simplified Chinese, there are 11,630 reviews, but among those reviews specifically, only those reviews, it is a mixed rating. So I can see what individual languages are doing, which I think is a very relevant level of granularity.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think this does more help than harm.
I agree. I think it's a good step. I think this is a shorthand for.
Yes.
I think this is a shorthand for.
This is a real vibes-based way of dealing with this.
Correct. I think that this is. I would say that this feels like a shorthand for review by country or review by region, which is what we really want. But this is a easy first step, right? Because it's much easier to show the language without being like, hey, here are all the reviews from mainland China, and here's why people in mainland China don't like it.
Yeah, I would rather this, because then this is semantical, but it's a more inviting way to check out other people's viewpoints. Because if it was like, oh, I want to see what they're saying in China, that's like, it feels very, at least for me, external, right? Like, that is another thing. But I want to see what people who are speaking in Chinese, I love saying this about like educational things. If I wanted to, I could learn Chinese, right? Like, so like I could be, if I wanted to be more part of that community and how, what, you know what I mean? So like, I like this because it feels more. There's also. Yeah, it feels better for some reason.
As games get increasingly globalized as well, it is also relevant simply to say that the quality of the writing and the translation may be different between languages, right? Yeah. Like there are games which we have seen have had some god-awful translation and regionalization. It's just bad. right? And so it might be accidentally written in a different language, but the way that it's translated and regionalized into your language is not good, right?
Yeah.
And so that is another particular reason that the languages matter, right, for review scores.
This is a fascinating story. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
Not just the tool, but like actually trying to pick and choose like, oh, well, this is good. Well, like this is bad. Someone in chat just said like, is there a translate button or will Google Translate get a bump, right? Yeah, like there's obviously ways to like circumvent this if you really wanted to, but you also have to have then Italian and an English account.
Yeah.
Where you've set your primary language, you have to change it. So like there's ways to circumvent it, but I think it'll be too much of a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. I think that's all we had on that. Let's do... Yeah, I can do this in 11 minutes.
Do it in 11 minutes.
Let's talk about Mare. So, I'm going to lay a bunch of groundwork, and then we're going to talk about a thing, okay? Are you ready? So, if you're not familiar with Final Fantasy XIV, I will give you a couple of fun factoids about it, and then we will talk about a thing. Number 1. Plugins of any kind, add-ons, are strictly against the terms of service of Final Fantasy XIV. That means that unlike World of Warcraft and Elder Scrolls Online and Guild Wars, we officially don't have DPS meters. We officially don't have any kind of external HUD customization. All of those things are against the terms of service of Final Fantasy XIV. Fact number 2, the overwhelming majority of the player base does not care about fact 1. They don't. Because either it doesn't impact them, they're perfectly content with the game as it is vanilla, or they are engaging in a very complicated ballet with Square Enix of, we're not going to tell you that we're using mods, and you're not going to do anything about it. Because it's expensive to enforce that, right? It's expensive to continually build new ways to stop people from loading client-side mods that don't affect the client-server relationship at all. Largely aesthetic mods. There are some mods in addition, which are things like damage meters, and those are done using by reading the memory of the game fights in progress. So those two things having been true, the third thing is we have seen in the past that breaking the "don't talk about it and we won't do anything about it" agreement that is sort of tacitly in place between Square Enix and the modding community leads to Square Enix going, why we don't now we have to do something about it because you said something about it, and blah. Such incidents include when someone put up a billboard, an actual physical billboard. I cannot stress this enough. This is a real story that really happened. Someone purchased space on a billboard and put an invitation to their party in Final Fantasy XIV on the billboard, which is stupid in and of itself because they used a bunch of Square Enix like trademark logos stuff that they weren't allowed to use. So like that was a whole thing, and they put it on a billboard. And then second, they were using crimes multiple times, including using what we would call mods, right? We call them crimes sometimes. They had also gone into the game files and pulled out unreleased pieces of gear that weren't out yet. So they had data mined the game and were displaying on the billboard unreleased items. And Square was like, bro.
How do people have enough money to make that bad of a decision? Like, what? What?
Matt, have you met gamers on the internet?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. So all of that to be said, there's a complicated and long-standing relationship between 14 and mods. One of the last times we talked about this, there was a mod that had been released, which was tracking individual users' activity across the entire game without their knowledge or consent. That was kind of weird and creepy by reversing the blacklisting feature. That, by the way, that add-on has since been cease and desisted into the sun by Square Enix as an example of their enforcement of this policy. So that brings us to Mare. Mare, properly fully known as Mare Synchronos, is...
Yeah. Explain what that mod is.
I'm going to. Is a mod which has sort of been the backbone of the modding community for Final Fantasy XIV. So remember when I said that it was client-side mods, right? So like if Matt and I were playing, and Matt was playing his character Drayler Swift, and he thought that Drayler Swift didn't look enough like Taylor Swift, he could, if he was in a mood to break terms of service, download a plugin or a series of plugins that would allow him to replace his gear with one of Taylor Swift's concert dresses. That is a thing that he could accomplish. Correct. Now, that would only be on Matt's computer, right? That would only be on Matt's computer. If I were playing with Matt, even if I were also running mods, I wouldn't be able to see it.
That stinks.
Unless I was using Mare Synchronos. Mare lets you synchronize
your
mods between users. You could exchange codes, and then whenever Matt did a thing, right, changed which concert dress of Taylor Swift's his character was wearing, I would see that on my computer. And this has gone on for years. This has been a mod for years. And it's sort of a backbone because mods are fun when it's just for you, but in a community that's largely about role-playing and about doing collaborative things with screenshots and machinima and stuff like that, sure. It's very useful to be able to see each other's mods, hacks, right, whatever. So this has served that purpose for many years. And they announced that they would be shutting down with 48 hours notice after receiving legal paperwork from an unknown source. We're assuming it's Square. That's a reasonably safe assumption, but I do want to clarify that when we talk about this, that is an assumption that has not been confirmed. Okay? It would fit with the pattern of behavior from Square Enix in the past, but it has not been confirmed to the best of my knowledge at time of recording.
So, now, let's pause for a brief moment. I didn't know much about this story when making the graphics, but I did also hear that you can also, like, without skins and things, other things could be like movements or dances or other things you could do that would also transfer over across this mod. Which is why I took it as mods going away so you can't dance how you want to anymore, and that's why I put Footloose at the top of this thing with an X through it. Did I get the general vibe of...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that are worth saying about this. One of them is that it is a reminder to the mod community that they play around in Square Enix's backyard with Square Enix's permission, and their permission looks like doing nothing. It's not affirmative permission, right? It's, we haven't done anything about this. Don't give us a reason to do anything about this. And the other one is... some of you, and I don't think any of them are actually here, some people in that modded community need to take Will's patented class on shut up.
Well, yeah, because you're talking about, like, you know, playing in Square's backyard, but the problem is when someone rents a billboard that directly overlooks that backyard with unreleased content and nonsense on it.
Correct. And in this case, what was happening was a whole bunch of players were over on Materia, a specific server, shouting in shout chat, aka zone chat, in every major city for every expansion in the game, that there was a party that was using Mare, that they needed to use this code to come to the party.
I guess they hadn't really figured, you know, they didn't look into like speakeasies or anything, did
right.
they? It's not like, you can't, if you have a secret thing because of reasons.
Yeah.
You can't tell everyone as blatantly as that about the secret thing.
Now, we're not saying that that's specifically the reason, right? But that is part of it. So I do want to bring up a thing that Ifex said, that there was a snafu with GitHub accounts. That is part of it. There is a more complicated chain of events, some of which include having the ability to directly contact with legal information the primary developer of Mare Synchronos. Because they put all of their real information on their GitHub, and so they could be identified, right? Which, that's a weird gray area as well. Like, you obviously want to be recognized for your work and supported for your work, but there was a Patreon involved, so now you're making money on a thing that Square Enix doesn't want to exist. And now we get into a Nintendo-style problem where, like, if you're not making any money on it, it might be okay, but the second you make money on it, now we're going to let our lawyer sharks out, and lawyer sharks are very bloodthirsty, right? So there is this big complicated interchange. Suffice it to say, for the people who were using this and not doing what I will call broadly harm to anyone, this super sucks.
Yeah.
I will also take this opportunity to warn people in the coming days, and I know a lot of people have already been giving this warning. In the coming days, there will be lots of people who attempt to say that they will be the one to replace Mare, because it was a crucial part of this experience. Trust none of them. Trust zero people that they will be the next Mare, right? Because this is a prime opportunity for people to inject malicious code into people's computers, to abscond with people's data, to try and make a quick buck for themselves and then vanish with it. Because there is a void in the space, people will quickly step in to try and fill it, and many of them, if not all of them, will be bad actors.
Not only that, just from a supply and demand perspective, if unknown entity, a different shape other than a triangle, goes after Mare for this, and then there's a bunch of loud people being like, we're the next Mare, you don't think that this company is going to also go after them right away? Like, there's no way that any of these people even trying to fill the void right now will be able to. Again, this is one of those things like, okay, your distillery just got raided. Other people outside your distillery, while the cops are still in there yelling, my distillery's down the street, is probably not the best move to go to that distillery as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna, what sucks, and this sucks for the community, is I think if there is a replacement, it's going to take time, and it's going to be very grassroots, and it's going to be very small and secret, because that's the only way that these things can actually grow. It sounds like Mare was essentially grew to the point where it was an open secret, and only after a few silly folks didn't take Will's patented class of shutting the hell up did corporate company come in and say, like, why'd you do that? Okay, great. Cool.
I do want to highlight Snackin's comment, because I think this is really true. It is also very true that Mare is a peer-to-peer file sharing arrangement, which is absurdly, unspeakably dangerous to your computer if you're letting it bypass all of the protections on your computer. So you need to know, you needed to know specifically with whom you were trading files, right? Again, like, really dangerous here in territory, specifically if someone's going to try and replace Mare quickly or poorly or in bad faith, right? So
what do we think of this? Because I'm not exactly sure.
I don't think so. That is not my understanding. It's certainly possible that the UK ID requirement came into this. That has been a big thing across a lot of places, but to the best of my knowledge, that's not directly involved.
Yeah.
Okay. It is, however, time for mods. I managed to cover, I think, most of that story. Well, we'll take questions on it when we get back. So,
you mean time for ads?
Yeah, sure, that thing. I totally said ads on the internet. I didn't say mods.
No, not at all.
Check the tape.
Don't check the tape, because if they check the tape, well, they're gonna know that you said mods and not ads. You didn't take your class.
I'm tired and eepy and reading a lot of chat. You can go first.
Okay. Hey everyone, Matt from Extra Credits here. say, does Matt ever start a fake ad during one of these sections that you just don't like, right? Like you think like it's not that great, or he definitely didn't think about it before he hit the button. Well, let me introduce to you a new mod peer-to-peer system from Games for Breakfast called Your Own Ads. But it's gonna be called mods, because Will that one time decided to say mods instead of ads, and then that happened to be the vernacular that we ended up going with. But basically what it does is we can inject specific mods, ads, into your stream, and then you don't have to watch the ones that you don't like. We're gonna work with Steam on some language coding as well in there. We'll see how it goes. Ads for mods. Mods for ad. Oh yeah, maybe yours should just be ads specifically for mods. Or do you have one?
I already have one.
Okay.
Whoa. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to do your thing.
He's ready.
Hi there. Well, from Extra Credits here to remind you that my class on shutting the hell up is absolutely free. That's right. It's absolutely free, and it goes like this. If you're doing something that, you know, some people might not like you doing in a wide variety of places, your workplace, public, the internet, it's entirely free to shut up about it. There are plenty of things that people do that harm no one that just aren't spoken of for very good reasons. So, take my patented class and shut up.
How did the class become patented?
Well, no one else was offering it, so I was the only one, so the patent was pretty easy.
Okay. Did it take like a couple months? Like, I'm trying to patent a class, and I want to know if my class, how long the process takes.
It's instant, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just.
Would you say it was actually super easy, barely an inconvenience?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, cool. I think that covers our,
I particularly like that set of fake ads because, like, I didn't really like mine. But the thing that I was advertising was an ability to get out of it when one of mine is bad.
Uh-huh.
So
Absolutely.
In a way, it might be the best one because it's an ad that proves you need the thing that it's not selling.
That's very true. Okay, so now we're back for ads. Last thoughts on Mare.
That's a Mare.
I gotta keep us rolling or we're gonna be here forever.
Oh, I've officially moved my meetings, by the way.
Okay, great. Excellent.
So like they always are now at 1:30, not 1. And therefore, not to say we have to go long.
I was going to say, do you still understand how much we have to go through?
What are you talking about? It's not like there was a giant games convention where a bunch of things were announced.
Right. Okay, great. The Venn diagram of say nothing and no snitching is a circle, by the way. It's just a big old circle, singular circle. Yeah, so I think that this is a routine reminder that there is sort of like plenty of things that happen around games and in gaming that are in this gray area, right? And I think a lot of people who aren't Nintendo fans may be unfamiliar with this. Nintendo is a little more litigious than Square, right? But Square is not slow to step up and defend the boundaries of what they have established, right? On what their terms of service are. It is incumbent on people to get in the practice of being circumspect with your communication. Okay, shut up. When doing these things, right? Because again, people choosing to make their gear look like Taylor Swift's, concert dress, a thing which someone made Taylor Swift's concert. I don't even know if this is a thing. I would be shocked if it isn't, to be honest.
I would never.
Right. Yeah. Right. But Taylor Swift has a lot of fire concert dresses, and I know a lot of people who would love to beat up the horrifying incarnation of death at the end of time and space in a Taylor Swift concert dress, right? That makes sense, right? And it's not harming anyone. It's not impacting anyone else's gameplay experience. There's nothing bad about it, right? It is against the terms of service. People violate terms of service all the time. Your moral and ethical boundaries on where that falls will be personal, right? But I think we can agree that it's not impacting anyone else. And yet Square comes down on this, and they only come down on it when people don't shut up. Shut up. Very simple. Go play in your sandbox and shut up. Don't mention it. Don't talk about it. Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Keep it safe. Was there one more little piece of information in the Final Fantasy 14 section, which actually gets me fairly excited?
Yeah. So Yoshi P did an
Yoshi P.
Our Yoshi P-san, our sensei, did an interview with VGC at Gamescom. And we'll have a link to the IGN article that talks about that interview in the notes. One of them, one of the questions that was asked was talking about bringing Final Fantasy XIV to a new platform, the Switch 2. And his answer was, for me, it's just my aim to provide Final Fantasy XIV and 16 to as many players as possible, and I hope that as many players as possible will be able to enjoy those two games. We're putting in our best efforts to ensure that this happens, so it's fine to convey to your readership that I consider the possibilities very positively, and we are putting in our best efforts.
Now, what those efforts could be is toward looking at new places, or that they've already started developing something, etc.
Correct. Now, I will say that Final Fantasy XIV does run on the Steam Deck. Runs pretty well on the Steam Deck, actually. I've actually raided with someone who was raiding from a Steam Deck on hotel internet. The hotel internet was a bigger problem than the Steam Deck was.
Sure.
Right? The idea of putting it on the Switch 2 really appeals to me. And,
Same.
And here's the reason why. WoW is a giant juggernaut of a game. Right, despite all of the growth and player base that Final Fantasy XIV has, and the skew that our community has towards Final Fantasy XIV, because I refuse to shut up about it ever, WoW still has a dominant market share. Except, WoW isn't on console, and I think it would be very cool if Final Fantasy XIV was available on the triumvirate of consoles and was a thing that enabled people to play in a variety of different ways across all of these consoles for a long time to come. Now that the Switch 2 is a powerful enough console to play a big premium tab-targeted MMO that has built-in controller support since day one, kind of awesome. Big fan. Really excited to see where this goes.
I'm excited because while I did enjoy my time playing Drailer Swift in 14, I just know that I do not have the time to commit to an MMO like that I can sit down at a specific spot and play it. If it were on the Switch, on the Switch 2, something that I could take, and I just don't have a Steam Deck, so I can't do this. There is a methodology there that says, oh, I could pick away at this on the go. I don't for instance, I could get through the story content where you don't need to be in a team the entire time and you can go through it, etc. And I know you can plug in a mouse and a keyboard to your consoles as well. But the Switch already comes with the Switch 2 kind of comes with the mouse. So I could also do it there.
Yeah.
I don't know. If this happens, it would open up another door for me to try to actually engage with the content, because I'd be able to do it in a place that I could do anywhere, and therefore I'm more likely to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Someone was asking about does Switch have enough buttons? Yes.
Yeah.
Short answer, yes. It does have enough central buttons to make it happen. Yes.
Anyway, it's neat.
Yeah. It's really cool. All right. Next up, Bungie is having a leadership change after some 23 years. Pete Parsons is leaving Bungie.
So I have not kept up with Parsons and who's the other gentleman who I think is also leaving? I had his name somewhere. Truman.
Sounds right.
I believe they're the two sort of people who've been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting time that this is happening, because this is basically after Sony, after buying them for a very expensive amount of money, was super hands off for years, and now I think due to Marathon and Destiny underperforming, etc., they are going to become super hands on. And I'm curious if the two sort of founding folks here, not founding, but long-term folks from Bungie leaving are sort of tied to that. If this is sort of because I believe Parsons has been there 23 years. Truman has been there 15, I think.
That's about right.
I'm curious if they were sort of ousted or if they just decided that rather than take the oversight, they would leave. You know?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of them, right? Like after God, we're very familiar with this. Even on something that you love, there is a period in time where like it ends in your life, right? So like I'll give you all a personal example, right? Like I deeply loved painting war game models and playing war games. That was a huge part of my life for like a solid decade. And that part of my life is just kind of over now. Like I have a whole bunch of war games models out on a table with paint and everything I need, and I just never want to.
Oh,
right?
It's funny. I'm the opposite. I have all of that stuff tucked away, and if I had it open, I would just do it every 15-minute intervals.
I pass by it every time I leave my room to go to the kitchen to get a snack, to go do laundry, to leave my place, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just on a table. Yeah. It's out. It's there. I never feel like doing it, right? And so in the same way, like it can also just be possible that a confluence of things says, I'm good. I'm going to take my golden parachute and I'm going to go find something else to do because the new creative endeavor is what I'm really chasing. That is also a possibility. I just want to inject that, right?
Yeah, totally. And sorry, someone said, where did it go? Was it R2? Was like, wait, wasn't this covered last week? It was covered a few weeks ago, but not the two leads leaving.
Yes. PlayStation cracking down on Bungie and then
the old story.
And then after that, the leads left.
The next step.
Yeah.
Also, it is safe to say, and I haven't followed on this, so I don't want to harp on it too much, but I think back in 2024, Parsons did take some flack after a bunch of layoffs when at a very poorly timed time to list his sports car collection.
Correct.
So not exactly what I would call a great move. So there is that. I know apparently Parsons More Than Truman, I feel like, is a divisive figure unless I'm missing that. I just haven't stayed up to date on Bungie's leadership that much.
Yeah.
I go back to, I really want Destiny to, like, let's look at two companies. Let's look at the story of Bungie and the story of Blizzard. Through various Activision acquisitions and other things, they have both changed intrinsically. From the days when Warcraft 2 and StarCraft from one side, and Destiny
Marathon.
From Halo, things like that. Like, they're not the same studios when they made it. They can't be. People grow and change and get bought by larger companies and then escape somehow sometimes, and others don't, and whatever. I am still in the PR journey in my own heart. I have given up on Blizzard. Blizzard is gone. It is not the same. And while I will play a game or two of them, it is not a day one purchase by any means of the imagination anymore. I do not trust them. I do not think that quality is of the utmost importance. And it's funny, the only game that I play from Blizzard at this point is Hearthstone, and that's because it's a TCG that I've been locked into for 13 years or whatever it's been.
Which is turbo weird, by the way, because the new WoW expansion, even coming from a Final Fantasy 14 player, looks dope. Like they're doing a bunch of stuff right.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
And I love WoW. I played WoW for 7 years, but I truly think that the Bungie that I loved is dead. There is something else there, and maybe they'll make a good game. Like maybe they do from time to time or whatever, but I am not loyal to that company really at all, and we should always not be really loyal to companies. But the reason why we are, I feel like, is in some smaller, earlier cases, you're able to see like people in it and like working at it, and it feels more like a group of people than a conglomeration or a corporation. Whereas Bungie, I don't know if it's like the like can't find a home or like things just aren't working out. Like, I don't know why I don't have the level of vitriol for Bungie that I do Blizzard. Like I'm still rooting for Bungie. I don't know why. That doesn't feel entirely logical. Maybe the story of the company is just more of like they were at the top, then they got knocked down, then they keep thinking they have foothold places and they keep crumbling, and I just want it to do well because I like the properties. I don't know.
I think Bungie occupies a different place in nerd culture because of Halo. I think that the place that Bungie occupied in the mythos of nerd culture, particularly the nerd culture that like deeply influenced our like early console days, is very strong in a way that Blizzard's wasn't, because it was primarily PC. And while WoW was a big thing, right, that was sort of its own large, no question, large, still a niche, right? I think the Bungie story has been sort of an attempt to return to that, like Funyuns and Mountain Dew Master Chief Lasso runs at like 2 a.m, right?
I wonder, there's that in combination with some things that people are saying in chat that I'm kind of popping up here. The problems with Blizzard started, like, the problems feel incredibly corporate, like they're corporate problems. Even the problems with Destiny feel like they were injected corporate problems.
I think I agree with that.
And maybe they've been hit so hard that they're not going to be able to come back. I mean, like, I'd be really interested to see, like, Destiny 2 going free to play. That was under Activision, if I remember correctly.
I think that sounds correct to me.
While it did let, for instance, Will, you and me kind of dive back in and sort of check it out, I don't think it actually did it any real favors. The thing I loved about Destiny 1, and to a point Destiny 2, before it was free to play, was that it was a game you bought that had enough content in it that felt like actual, like, enough content in it for the price point, and it had an end game that they were updating from time to time. And then as expansions came out, that, like, I feel like in the quasi, it's not an MMO, but in the shared space looter shooter genre, free to play for me doesn't work. Like, I want to buy chunks of content.
Except Warframe. Warframe is, however, an unfair penny to put on these tracks. It is in all ways an anomaly. Right?
Here's the other thing. No, but here's what it is. So you're right about Warframe. And I was like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that instantly? It's because, and this is dumb, this is just how I compartmentalize sort of these things. It's because Warframe is third person.
I think that's fair.
For whatever reason, I don't know if this is just intrinsically baked into me, and maybe the next generations of people playing games, this is not quite the same hang up, but like a first person shooter as a free to play game feels weird to me. Not bad. Look, it could be great. I know tons of people
it's generally combined with a different word, right? So like free to play battle royale, right? Like Apex Legends, right? Or free to play, you know, whatever.
But those aren't, like, Apex Legends is not a narrative driven thing. Like, there's a bunch of combinations, and I think it does come from what you came up with and what you are used to, and I think my bias is very much showing. I don't know. I know we're just sort of like going in circles about this. I do still want Bungie to do well. I hope that these gentlemen leaving and Sony taking control, for whatever reason, this is not blaming any one party for anything. I hope that whatever this shakeup is, knocks some dust off and lets them get back to making really cool games. And I've run into, actually, at last PAX West, I ran into two awesome people who were fans of the channel, and I was like, oh, what do you all do? And they were sound designers at Bungie, and they spoke so lovingly about working there, like, and what it meant, and like how it was their dream to work there on X, Y, and Z because of this, that, and the other thing. And like that, I had this feeling about Bungie before that interaction, but I think that actually interaction sold me a little bit more. And again, it's such a microcosm and a little bit of like bias nonsense, but I don't know. I want this company to do well, and hopefully this shakeup actually does that.
Yep. Okay. Are we ready, Matt?
I think so. I've pontificated enough.
Take a deep breath. Time to talk about Gamescom. So we're gonna do a rally real quick. We're gonna do our top notable games of Gamescom. With Matt having an honorable mention story first.
I do. So okay. Before we get into that, I'm so sorry, Will. You and I were talking about how I love that 90% of the show at this point, Will, is just you and me being like, man, we're tired. But like, didn't we both kind of felt like this was a lot to ingest even over a weekend?
Yeah, and it's partially where I'm at with the industry right now, and partially where like other things that I'm doing in my life. Right, but like I found it really hard to care. Oh man, was it hard, right? Because Gamescom, like, I don't know. It is no fault of his. I'm real tired of Jeff Keighley announcement shows. I want something different, not because there's anything wrong with Jeff Keighley announcement shows, but because we always get a Jeff Keighley announcement show. I would like something different, please.
You either fade away as the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, right. Like it's not just like, again, nothing wrong with the way that he does it. He's a staple of the industry. I literally exclusively mean that I crave novelty in the way that games are announced and presented. We talked about it a few weeks ago, I think, with a celebrity. It's when a celebrity is everywhere, whether or not they're amazing or terrible, you're going to get sick of them. It is a human nature. There's a backlash against the most delightful human being on the planet, Pedro Pascal, because he's in 3 movies at the same time in theaters, and he seems to be everywhere. So people were getting like upsetty about it. And I'm like, it happens with celebrities all the time. So I totally get the vibe. I agree. Let's spice up the hosting genres for this thing. Yep.
Yeah. 1000%. Okay. The Chris Pratt effect. Except Chris Pratt lately has said some things that go above and beyond just him being everywhere, and perhaps.
Would you look at the time? It's a hair past a freckle. All right,
Mushroom Kingdom. Let's leave.
Yeah.
So my honorable mention though was one that I did not expect, and then after thinking about it for a second, I realized sort of why.
Sure.
Black Ops 7. As Will coined it, man, do they know how to cut together a trailer. Bless you. Essentially, I was shocked how interested I was in Black Ops 7. I don't play any of these games. But the second I saw it take the weird narrative twist of like essentially Fear Toxin. They mixed Arkham Asylum with Black Ops.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, this gives you narrative space to do something interesting. I don't know if I'll get it or play it. I don't know. But like that, and with the combination of I am a sucker for when it is done correctly, and it is very rarely done correctly, when a trailer for a movie or a TV show or a game uses a classic song but edits it to the beat of combat. Mm-hmm. There's a Master of Puppets by Metallica track that shout out to the trailer editor for Black Ops 7, because damn, does that go hard. And again, I don't like these games normally. This is not my cup of tea. So for me to be like, are you looking at me, Mike? Like I feel like something great was done in that trailer. So while it is not one on my list, I just wanted to say that I'm always a fan of when a piece of advertising or media that is not only outside of my interest bubble, but like adverse to it. I just don't like military shooters. Starts to be like, get me interested. I always like to call it out and try to dissect why that is, because it is all marketing, but I'm very interested in marketing. Right. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Medusa, even if you don't dig it, like it does the really kind of nonsensical thing that I think people try to do over and over and over again and can never do, with like the sound of gunfire going to the beat of the song. But this was just an excellent, like, I would not be shocked if either the video editor and the producer of that version of the track were not working closely together, or they were the same person. Like, it feels so tight.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry. That's my honorable mention as we start.
All right. First up, we've got Resident Evil Requiem. Matt, tell us about this one.
So I have been psyched about this since the initial thing. This was a good breakdown at Gamescom of like what the. Here's what I like about previews of Resident Evil games at this point. They always lock you in a tiny little area of stuff, and it feels like that's going to be like kind of like what the whole game is, like they did with Lady Dimitrescu, big yep. step on mommy lady.
Steppy lady.
Yeah. That's what you thought was like the whole game of Resident Evil 8, when it turns out that's like a fourth of it.
Yeah, it's a very small part.
And so this section was our new heroine going through what is essentially a hospital or a mental institution wing, I believe, with another classic beast of stalking that is going on in the space in a giant homunculus kind of thing with these weird flat teeth that eats people's heads. And this had a real Alien Isolation vibe, and I really appreciated the level of detail they did. Because so in previous Resident Evil games, they have gone like in the first person one, 7 and 8. I believe they've gone back. Maybe it's just in 7, or maybe it was just in 8. And they like basically did a mod, not a mod. The company went back and made a third person version.
Yeah.
Here you have in 9, they're designing the option for either. And they're treating it differently. So there's a section, and they break this down. There's a really good clip of this in the IGN article, I believe, about it, which will be in the show notes. But there's a part where like you see the big homunculus and you have to run away. In first person, it's all sound based, right? Like you're running down the hall and you hear your footsteps and the clumbering like behind you, but it's still a camera just going down a hall. It's not that crazy or different, right? They realized that in third person, that sort of perspective shift is not as dramatic. So they have your character as you're running trip and fall and look back and get up. Like it causes tension in different ways based on the different perspectives.
Yeah.
And small moments like that spread around a large game like this is what I think actually makes these things last the test of time, because they know the experience is different. The difference in type of gameplay that they're giving you, they're planning for the contingencies of it to have both perspectives still deliver the feeling to the player that they want, and one is not just tacked on. And I really appreciated that. Again, Capcom is kind of back and forth with this stuff. Like you never know, but this gave me like that little section and that ability of changing and having them both design-wise matter and have a focus really was like, oh yeah, 9 easy day one. Like I won't even wait. Like I'll just do it. So I was very impressed with that. And that's one of the reasons why I do like Gamescom a lot outside of like the Game Awards and all that stuff, because like you do get interviews with people, with designers, you do get deeper dives. And this was a really nice thing because it's not going to be like a giant selling point as to the why they're doing it. They're just going to be like first or third person perspective. And like, that could mean a lot of different things. And they really knocked it out the park, I feel like, with that.
Yeah.
With that. So.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad. This is it. Tyler. So, yes, at least in this section of the game. But do you remember Nemesis in 3, I think, right? When you got to the safe room, even though he chases you through all the other rooms, he just comically, like, stopped and waited for the door to close, and then like there's no narrative reason why Nemesis isn't just punching through the safe room door. Apparently there's a narrative reason in 9 where the homunculus thing, like it's hurt by light, so your safe rooms have working light, so you turn on fuses or something, and so the creature starts coming in and then gets burned and goes back. And like I was just like, anytime you can do that and like to make a mechanic function and have it still work in the game is always lovely. So I appreciated seeing that as well.
Cool.
Sorry, that was a long thing, but I was more impressed with Requiem than I really thought I would.
Yeah, lots of mine are going to be shorter and a little more self-explanatory. At Fate's End is the next game by the same studio that brought you Spiritfarer. And it's also a game about relationships, except these ones are family relationships. That's the pitch. seems good to me. It looks like it's got great art. It's got that same wonderful art style. There is a heavier combat focus than there ever was in Spiritfarer, but that's because it's a different kind of game and not as cozy.
They're ramping up almost toward that. Like, it feels like they're learning from Greece to Spiritfarer 2.
Yeah, right. So that's a big deal.
Am I?
Greece is
That's
Neva,
right.
which was
Greece,
also
Neva.
Neva was also how dare you make me feel my own feelings, weep uncontrollably.
Right.
But At Fate's End looks really good, looks really solid for that. My favorite like little twist is that your skill tree is also your family tree because it's a game about family. And I think like that really like that sort of blending of two very different ideas into one idea to like really help tell the story with all of the mechanics the way that Spiritfarer does is top tier, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I will absolutely be playing At Fate's End when it comes out.
Nice.
Cool. Next up, Onimusha, Way of the Sword.
God, it's like, and this will be a shorter one too, but I was so glad that it still looked and felt like an Onimusha game. Look, I love Souls-likes. I love them. Nom nom nom. Eat them up. Want them in my belly. I did not want this to, especially for a game that is about killing demons and getting souls. Like, I did not want this to feel like a FromSoft sort of ripoff, and it feels like this is I don't want to say casual because you can always ramp up the difficulty, but like a narrative-driven, like sort of like non-open world like experience that you go through with levels, and you just kind of go through and do the thing. And I really, really liked it. It felt like it's exactly what I wanted it to feel like. It's slow and meandering, and you go, and there's like a little bit of puzzle things that kind of feel like What If Resident Evil, but not tank controls. And then you go in and have like sharp combat, tight controls, and a cool boss that has a different slight mechanic to it. It's not changing the world, but I'm glad to see it's on the track of the kind of game I want it to be.
Yes.
Like, this feels like, for me, it'll be a one and done game. Like, I'll probably play it once and not play it ever again. But like, it's been 20 something years since the last Onimusha, or like a long time.
Sure.
And I know people were saying, what's it called? No, it might be different with the not without the same camera, like with like the lock off. I think personally, and I won't speak for you or anybody else, I think lock-off camera is effective. However, I remember even back in the day, for every time I was like, whoa, this looks cool, I was also probably frustrated by that camera more than I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I could be alone in that, and that's totally fine. So I'm okay with the differing camera. It does feel not locked off at all, but it feels kind of floaty in the space. I think you can take control of it. I'd have to go back and watch again, but like it's interesting that the camera didn't come into my equation when I was watching it. Maybe that's just due to modern games being so in the forefront of my memory, but I don't know. I'm psyched for it. Can't wait to talk to my gauntlet and eat all the souls to do different. I also like that there's a different color souls that do different things. I don't know. I dig it.
Cool. Excellent. Awesome. I love how we're going from like big budget remakes of classic things to complete indie trash. Yeah. Love this. All right. Death by Scrolling is by Ron Gilbert of Monkey Island fame. And it is a roguelike RPG where the scrolling of the screen is a metaphor for purgatory and you are pursued by death. Proceed. That's it. That's the whole pitch. I think that's all I need to say. It's weird. It's going to be a weird roguelike game where it does weird stuff with game mechanics that make it feel like the kind of story that it's supposed to be telling. And that's all I really want. I also want to point out at this juncture that I have a small difference from Matt. Matt tends to go really in deep on trailers for games that like he's really interested in, like the Onimusha one.
It's the movie boy in me.
Yeah, it's the movie boy. I make it far enough into these where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play this game, and then I stop watching because I don't want to see any more, because I don't have enough time to watch all of these in their entirety, and B, I want some amount of surprises, right? Like, I don't want to see what all the items and relics and enemies do in Death by Scrolling. I want to know what the pitch is and be persuaded by the pitch. Now, it also helps that the games that I'm generally after are in a different price bracket than Onimusha, right?
Yeah.
Onimusha will probably be a $60 title, and Death by Scrolling I can't imagine being more than 20. So that is a thing that I am acutely aware of, but I'm super excited for Death by Scrolling just because I think this idea looks dope.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm excited about this one too. It's funny. Will and I do have different proclivities, but it's also nice, and we'll pick certain ones, I think, so we wouldn't have overlap and all that jazz. This game does look like fire, and it's the kind of thing that I could see chewing up a lot of hours. Like,
yep. Absolutely. Next up, just a little thing.
Dude.
And I'm sure you're totally normal about this, right?
I'm totally normal about this.
Right. Okay, great.
The last of the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection games were announced to great fanfare and great disappointment. I'm not going to bore you with all of these, but again, if you're not familiar with this game, it is ports of many of these games across different titles. So like Mortal Kombat 2, you'll have the arcade, the Super Nintendo, and the Genesis. I think even the 32X, depending. Like, there's a bunch of different versions of most of these. But the two that they added here were MK Mythologies Sub-Zero, which is the side-scrolling game, and Mortal Kombat Special Forces, which is like a 3D action-y beat-em-up. Like, it feels a little like Power Stone, but like worse. I love this. This is something that is like, I'm going to be the trash boy that downloads this day one on PlayStation and then buys the physical copy on Switch because it's supposed to be on the cartridge. I want to support this kind of archival. Not only is going to be all these different titles, but Atari's done this in the past with I think it's Digital Extremes. I can't remember. Not Digital Extreme. Digital Eclipse. There is an interactive history mode in this collection that lets you go through timelines and watch different things and play things and do things while you learn the history of this 30-year-old franchise. And I think that's phenomenal. There's also a section that looked super cool in one of the trailers where it's you can look at a character and it will flip through the character select screen from all of the games involved, and you can learn about their story as you do that, as the games progress.
So cool.
It's like a library. And I was watching an interview at Gamescom with one of the developers. They're doing things like this also so that other companies can come, or companies or products, like, because collecting all that's really hard for a series. They're doing it in a way that is like freely accessible, so like other things will be able to pull from it, like this history of it, like a knowledge base. They did it with a couple Atari games in an Atari collection, and they're using their expertise in that to like put this together. Yeah. The other thing that I'll say I'm a little disappointed, but it doesn't really matter. There's a version of Mortal Kombat 4 that came out on the Dreamcast called Mortal Kombat Gold, and it had 6 playable other characters, including like Katana and a couple other fan favorites. And it's awesome. But also, it ran way worse than the arcade of Mortal Kombat 4 did. I wonder why it's not here, but I know a lot of people are like angry that it's not here in the community. I think there's more than enough here to chew on. I'm curious if the history portion will like talk about why they didn't do that. Maybe there's something with Sega, who knows? Yeah. The crown jewel, and then I promise we can move on. The crown jewel is Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 WaveNet Edition. Everybody in chat, do we have any idea why that is?
It's been like lost to time, right?
So WaveNet Edition was a series of cabinets in Chicago and San Francisco that basically was a fully rebalanced and updated version of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. That also was the only time up to that point that Noob Saibot was actually playable. But it was hyper limited release. And what it did was it basically, WaveNet is a type of fighting game, is it protocol? I'm butchering this part, but like a way to play fighting games online.
Yes.
They were basically T1 connected arcade cabinets in Chicago and San Francisco before this was a widely experienced thing. And you got to actually play with people over the internet at arcade cabinets. this was something that specifically has never been released on a console and has never been done, like, because you just, why would you? And it was something that, like, because it was so limited, no one even knew if they still had the code for this thing anymore. It's awesome. Like, it is so cool that that is here. And it makes sense because they're using WaveNet, I believe, to go back and put multiplayer compatibility across all the fighting games. Obviously, Mythologies and Special Forces, I don't think is going to have that. Sure. But also, it has rewind mechanics. And if I remember Mythology Sub-Zero, the platforming in that game is shit. So I'm going to be using that a lot. Needless to say, this will be a day one thing that I stream here. Will, you're more than welcome to come along for the ride. I want to go through the chronology and the versions and, like, really dial in. This is... I'm beaming about this. This is my Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. Yep.
We may now move on.
Excellent. Chat, when I tell you that I was awoken like a sleeper cell when I was watching trailers and heard the opening of Battlestar Galactica from the show, which was... I'm going to need all of you to hold on to your bones. I'm going to need you to hold on to your bones. Battlestar Galactica is 20 years old. It was out when I was in college. I remember this because I had to go to a friend's room because they had access to a better internet connection so I could stream it because all the dorms didn't have the same internet connection. My college was crappy about that for a while. Right? Okay, cool, great, awesome. I was awoken like a sleeper cell by the serenade of the Battlestar Galactica theme song, and I am here for this. Scattered Hope is a fleet management FTL style roguelike. So they just smacked me with, like, all of the right words. They just went, like, here are the words, and I went, great, so say we all.
Yeah.
Right? And so that I'm just here for this. I think it's great. Battlestar hasn't been super culturally relevant for a while. I do really like it as an idea. And I'm kind of excited to see it get brought back. Yeah. Oh yeah, excuse me. Yeah, sorry. The reboot. Yeah, the reboot is 20. That's correct. The OG is like the 80s, 70s, so 80s.
I have not. I've seen a lot of it, but I'm not like a super fan. Just, I don't know why. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's very, very good. Battlestar is also, is that the reboot when, like, the Woman in the Red Dress 6? Is that this series? Okay, so funny, silly Battlestar story. I had a holiday party and I had some friends over, and my friend Sammy was there with her husband Joe, and my friend Anthony was there, and we were all in a circle and talking. And Anthony was recounting Comic-Con he was recounting his time at Comic-Con that year in New York. And he's like, oh man, I love Comic-Con. It's so good. This, that, and the other thing. And Sammy's like, oh, we've only been once. Like, it was a lot of fun. And Anthony was talking about how his daughter's first cosplay was this year and And he's like, I love seeing the cosplay. He goes, there was this one year where, because Six, and who was the doctor's character's name?
Gaius Baltar.
Yeah. So Six and Gaius, right? He's like, I ran into the dopest Six and Gaius cosplay like I've ever seen. It was so just spot on, solid. And Sammy and Joe kind of froze for a second, and they're like, and they hold up their phone, and before they'd met at my party, before they knew that they were friends, they both had pictures with one another at Comic-Con because Sammy and Joe were those cosplayers.
That's amazing.
And I was like, ah! So that's my Battlestar, not Battlestar story, which I thought was very, very cool.
I thought Battlestar was like, I like Battlestar for many of the same reasons that I like Babylon 5, in that it has an economy of storytelling that is very sharp, right? In both cases, it is not episodic. You cannot miss an episode. You will be very lost, right? Because it all matters. And I really like that. I don't have anything wrong with, like, super episodic stuff like Farscape or Star Trek or Doctor Who, right? Those are all fine.
But Battlestar is your thing.
But that's sort of like space opera, big complicated story thing is like really my jam. So I'm excited to see where they go with this. I'm excited to see it come out. I saw chat was mentioning there's also a Star Trek Voyager one. I didn't see that one.
That might be more my jam, to be honest.
I'm sure it'll be cool and interesting and wonderful. It did not make it did not rise to the level of my notice among this sea of games.
God, it was so many, and like
probably no fault of its own, to be honest.
Yeah, we're gonna be skipping around a little bit too. People were bringing up World of Warcraft, like the shadows. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Sure.
We could talk about it a little bit at the end, but like that one didn't make my thing. In fact, I think I'm on my last one. Am I not?
I believe you are. Your next one is Replaced.
Replaced. Didn't know this game existed. That's my absolute favorite thing at midnight. Thank you. A darkness, shadow, whatever. Midnight. But no. Replaced is a 2.5D, essentially cyberpunk thriller. It looks like what you remember pixel art games looking like, but with way smoother animation. And it seems as though like style is just front and center on this entire thing. The combat seems like it riffs a little bit on the Batman, like the Arkham games. And it just like, it looks immaculate. I cannot do this game justice. Like even the screen caps of it don't. Watch the trailer or the interviews about Replaced. It looks so good. It's easily my favorite looking game of the entire show. I cannot get over that. Just that's all I'll say. Go check that out.
Okay. I think you have one more after this before my last.
Oh, do
one.
I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cult of the Lamb is getting expansion. I love the idea of Cult of the Lamb. I love everything about this IP except playing the game. The game didn't really vibe with me, but like I love that it exists, and I love the media that exists around it, and I love how snarky it is, and how on the nose it is, and how they're just like, hey, there's this cute thing, and also a demon. I love that, and them getting more stuff and bringing it back into prominence is really cool. Especially with all the lessons they've learned from the core game and the core game launch. I think this will be really great. More Cult of the Lamb is good. It's also one of Devolver's most successful IPs, like ever. So I'm glad to see that they're keeping it kicking around and they're not just like, okay, cool, we're done with this. Especially because Cult of the Lamb feels a lot like a game that is pseudo live service in that it maintains some relevancy by playing it with Twitch chat. If you're unfamiliar, Cult of the Lamb has full Twitch chat integration where you can bring people from your chat into your little religious commune thing. And sometimes they're naughty and you have to put them in the stocks, and chat thinks that that's hilarious and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, just more Cult of the Lamb looks interesting. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. And the last thing on my list is not a game at all, yet is based from it. The trailer for the second season of Fallout looks immaculate. I like that they're tying the Ghoul's history to Mr. House. If you have not watched the trailer and you are a person who likes watching trailers, I suggest you do it. I am so looking forward to moving this story into the New Vegas of it all, and it was very, very cool to get to see it before it. I started a rewatch on a 4K disc of the first season. I want to reward companies that tend to keep their content behind walled gardens of streaming services when they do actually release a nice collection on a physical media. And it's been really, really lovely. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yep.
Justice for the New California Republic.
Did you want to you should do your honorable mentions.
Oh, my honorable mentions real quick. Again, in the fighting game genre, I'm really interested in Invincible versus the Invincible World fighting game. I think that's really going to be good. Also, the other one, which I was confused about, but I like anyway, I hope that it actually plays well, was Indiana Jones and the Golden Circle on Switch 2.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting sort of trailer drop on it. We'll see how that goes, especially after the very poor reception Elden Ring
I was just thinking,
gave.
Yeah, Elden Ring was shown on the Switch 2. It only really works in docked mode, and it doesn't work well in docked mode. Probably take a skip, unless they're going to do some... But they showed this at Gamescom, so like it's pretty close to done. Maybe skip Elden Ring on the Switch 2. It doesn't...
That sucks. Yeah. Here's the thing. if they are smart, they will actually hold the release of it and fix it. This is not going to be like, if they just released it as is and it was trash for a while, I don't think we're going to get like the essentially like the cyberpunk sort of long form fix for it. I think they'll just dump it and be done, because this is me tinfoil hatting. Nintendo already gave them the hype money.
Yeah.
They have a exclusive Soulsborne-esque title on the Switch 2 coming, and they got to dump Elden Ring on all of the trailers for the Switch 2. It's a real bad look if they don't make it good, but it's also, I feel like, not their major focus, which sucks. Like, a great Switch 2 portable would be amazing, and maybe they will do it, but it worries, like, why not just not show it at Gamescom unless they were like actually contractually obligated to do so?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they wanted to see how poor the reception was, to see how much they needed.
How much they needed.
Yeah. But yeah, apparently it's stuff like if you move the camera too quickly in a Souls-like game, everything frame chugs.
Yeah.
Would you believe that moving the camera quickly is a big part of many, if not all, Souls-like games? So
yeah, so I don't know. I want it to be good. I don't think I was gonna ever pick it up because it's not on the cart.
Yep.
Because just the same way that I like picking up games that are actually on the cart to vote with my dollars, I will also not pick up your game if it is not on a cart, and I will be the tiny wolf meme just howling at the moon and affecting no one.
Okay.
So, I mean, Will, I think that basically covers all of Gamescom, right?
Yeah.
Like,
there was
no other game that really excited us or you in particular.
Right. Nothing else that like shook up the entire industry and is causing massive ripple effects in the launch windows of probably dozens at this point of games. Yeah, definitely nothing that. Oh, wait. Dear friends. Dear true believers, we waited 7 years to wait 48 hours to wait 3 minutes for a 2-minute trailer that told us to wait 2 weeks, and we're still hyped. So it is not a myth. It is in fact happening. It is in fact happening. Everybody feel free to not remain calm. Silksong has been confirmed to drop September 4th, 2025. This announcement was accompanied by a Jason Schreier article, which he passed out a gift link to it. It's on Bloomberg. Don't know if the gift link's still good on his socials, but the gist of the article is it took 7 years to make because they gave 3 extremely creative people virtually unlimited money and no firm timetable, and they were having fun making a really big, cool video game. And you know what? I'm so happy. This is great. I'm super excited. It's gonna be... Everything I've seen leads me to believe it's very good. Now, the next obvious question is, am I gonna play it on the channel? Yes. Absolutely. I am being nothing if not a benevolent and just streamer overlord. You will have until September 8th. That is the following Monday. I'm giving you an entire weekend to get ahead of me. And then following breakfast, I will embark on my journey of
will you be playing it off stream before stream?
I am being so good, Matt.
Whoa. What are you doing?
I'm being so good. I'm gonna
Don't do that.
I'm gonna put my head in a hole and not look at socials for 4 days. It'll be fine. Yeah. So that happened. So that was really cool. I was very glad to see that the player base responded favorably. We did a live stream along of the announcement stream in the Discord for all the patrons and subs and channel members. If you're any of those, you can join the Discord.
Yeah, if you've gotten to this point in this video, in this show, hi, hello, and also we do have a Patreon.
Yeah, we have a Patreon.
Different ways. Actually, Patreon, Twitch, or YouTube memberships will all get you access to the Discord. where we do a bunch of stuff like that every now and then. And I popped in for that. It was fun to watch you guys all freaking out about it. Again, I love Hollow Knight, but not like Will loves Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
And so I think this trailer looks amazing. I am very pumped to play it. I just think it looks slick. I'm super pumped that a small group of dedicated and passionate people that were having a blast got to actually make a video game, which should not sound so weird.
Right. But it sounds less weird when you realize that Hollow Knight has cracked 15 million copies sold. They revealed that, right? Normally, the exact number of copies that a game has sold is kind of a nebulous thing that we're estimating based on a bunch of data, because many companies don't want to reveal unless they're at like a major milestone, and then they'll usually wait some to keep people guessing about how many exactly they've sold.
Did they release that recently?
It was in the Schreier article.
Oh.
But they announced that they've sold 15 million copies total of Hollow Knight, which I believe the cheapest sale price ever for Hollow Knight is $5 million. So if we take that to be their total take home per copy.
Wait, $5 you mean?
Yeah, $5. Excuse me,
$5. That's a steal.
Right. It was $5, so it would be $75 million total take home after taxes and publisher shares and everything else. Divided 3 ways is enough money to make video games forever, even if you never release any of them. So, you know.
Desi, actually, I'll put this up again. I don't know if it actually will go up again. Go up again. Haha. So out of the loop. Don't understand the hype behind this game.
Excellent. Let me help explain this by explaining another recent phenomena. Hollow Knight, which we just spoke about, is the first game in this series. Right? Hollow Knight is a much beloved Metroidvania. Hornet, seen here, is the protagonist of Silksong and also a side character in Hollow Knight 1. She's
where you play the titular Hollow Knight.
No.
No?
I actually don't. It's a common misconception. The Hollow Knight.
Yeah, no, please. Here, can you push up my glasses?
Yeah, right. I'll just reach.
Hold on.
Ying.
Wow,
okay,
you
great.
did it.
Excellent. Yeah, good job. Okay, the Hollow Knight's actually the boss.
That's right.
The Hollow Knight, is actually one of the final bosses of Hollow Knight. Hornet, seen here, will be the protagonist of 2. One of the reasons that Hollow Knight, that Silksong is so hyped is that the original Hollow Knight is clean, polished, smooth, and very much beloved. It takes a lot of the right cues of from Souls games and from other Metroidvanias and sort of polishes them. It does some innovation in some key places, but what it really does is it is a polished, lovingly created original world with deep lore and interesting characters and a ton of DLC that they released afterwards. So, just like Samus isn't a Metroid. Yeah.
I can't argue.
That's
the most true thing that's been said on this show so far.
Right. So as a result of Silksong's announcement, a large number of people, including me, have gone back to play the original Hollow Knight to get all of their lore and everything else up to date and to brush up their skills, meaning that as of time of recording, Hollow Knight has hit its new all-time player high. Its all-time peak is now 39,356. Again, that is for a single-player game on Steam only, because we don't have access to charts for all of the other places. But the line continues to go up. The trend line showed that it peaked last night. There are currently 32,000 people on a Monday morning playing Hollow Knight. There are 32,701 people playing Hollow Knight on Steam right now, and it's the middle of a day on a Monday. I cannot stress enough how beloved the original is, and so they've been teasing Silksong for a long time, and it was about 7 years total, and now people are finally getting a chance to play it, and we're all really excited. I hope that answers fully why people are super hyped. I'm not saying that here's what I hope. I don't have it's not going to be a thing that innovates in every way on every part of Metroidvanias. My belief is that it will be a similarly polished labor of love that shows the same care for characters, detailed writing, interesting world, cool boss fights, neat combat that Hollow Knight did. I'm not saying like it's my favorite, not because it's something flashy, but because it is like the worry stone that you keep in your pocket and you just keep rubbing it until it's smooth. It's that as a game, right? It is very lovingly made.
As I would say a Hollow Knight novice, I've beaten the game, but not like completely beaten the game, and that was with chat and Will's help. Yeah. I even clocked the play style of Hornet seems way floatier, at least from the trailers, and like it's good that like even someone like me who was not studied frame data can kind of see like, oh well, this will be a different feeling experience than Hollow Knight was to play. Yeah. So while the innovation might not be like, oh, it's the next generation of Metroidvanias or whatever, the moment to moment play will feel different, and that's something that I was excited for.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a bunch of key differences. I've also done like the trailer analysis, and we've got a lot more options, abilities, things to look forward to from Hornet's kit than we did from the Knight. But that's makes sense for a bunch of reasons that aren't pertinent here, but I will lore spout at some point. Yeah. The last thing, by the way, about Silksong that we did want to mention is that if you thought you were excited for an indie game coming out in September, you were excited for them to come out in September. The amount of scrambling that is happening in the indie game space right now to get out of the way is huge, because there is no room in indie game land for any other game to release that weekend now. Unfortunately, this is sort of an unintended. I don't think Team Cherry did this on purpose. I think this was kind of inevitable at this point. Silksong is one of the most wishlisted games in all of Steam. I don't think I can fully convey how wise a move it is for all of the indie devs who were going to release in proximity to Silksong to be like, nope, sorry, we're pushing it back. We're out.
Here's what sucks.
Like,
this is just I don't think Team Cherry wants this, but it's inevitable that this was going to happen. Now, they could have made a much like longer form announcement way earlier when it was going to come out. Mm-hmm. That would have let people get out of the way.
Yep.
But also, there's so many things going on behind the scenes, especially for a team of 3 people. Like who knows? I'll be curious as the months and years go on. Like we started to learn a little bit more about the development and what they want to share. But like, there's a world where like they weren't even sure it was going to come out in September, and they finally said it was done, and they want to get it out as soon as possible because they know people are waiting on it. So it's a unfortunate knock-on effect of the popularity of this game that other groups are going to have to. Well, no one has to, but if they're smart, they're moving out of the way.
Correct.
And it sucks because like, again, this is no one's fault. It is just that some teams might not be able to pivot, and it was a surprise, and that will take some chunks out. But again, that's any medium of art or entertainment,
Yeah, absolutely so. And that, dear friends, I think is our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm actually surprised. Very few people asked why we weren't talking about Silksong until the very end, and the reason is we didn't want to take all the oxygen out of the show by being like, Silksong right at the very beginning.
It's a debate whether or not the thumbnail for this will just be this image with "kept you waiting," because I think that's kind of fun, though it
needs to be at
might
the top
not.
instead of the bottom, but yeah.
What was that?
I think it needs to be it could be in the.
You could do a whole bunch of different things, but my point is,
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we knew it would be a big chunk.
Yeah.
Thunder knew.
Yeah. I ran this by some friends in a voice channel chat, and Thunder was there. So.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's this was a really good Gamescom. I enjoyed all of the things, and again, it was too much to ingest. We probably missed a bunch. We didn't even scratch the surface of a couple different games in there.
Yeah.
But that is to each their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have even more stuff to talk about, not next week, but the week after, when Matt is back fully from PAX West. So, Matt, go ye therefore and have an excellent PAX West. I'm sure everyone here will be very interested to hear about the panels when you get back. Again, those are both on Sunday night, August 31st. one at 6:30 p.m. in Blue Dragon with the rest of the EC crew, and one at 4 p.m. in the Firebird called Tears of the Kingdom, where Matt's going to help with a Tears of the Kingdom tier list. That's two different spellings of this word. You can figure out which is which.
You got it.
That, dear friends, will be all for us today on Breakfast. Thank you all so much once again for being here. Do deeply appreciate it. That means that all that remains to us is for Matt to do the sign-off that we always do together every week, just the same, as predictable as Silksong not getting released until... Oh, wait. Maybe not the best example.
No, it's the best example because just like Silksong, everything about the release date has been incredibly clear from the get-go. They wanted to foster a sense of community. They just decided to do it through constant it'll be done when it's done energy. We do the same thing here because the show is actually done, and we won't do this communal sign-off until the show is actually complete, and therefore we can all come together and ensure that we as a community say goodbye and go into the week in a positive vibe that we can all just feel at the same time. So without further ado, thank you so much for watching Games for Breakfast this week, and I don't think there's anything left to say other than Bonfinata.